Welcome to An Awful World, but not awful like you think.
This is the show where we discuss whether we would have discovered important advances in a world exclusively full of Haylies and Libbys. I'm Haylie.
And I'm Libby. And today we're talking about baked goods. And baking.
Yeah.
And baked goods. So, this is part 4 of our March Munchies series. And the last part of our March Munchies series. And I feel like we've saved the best for last.
I think so too.
Because I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this. Mm-hmm. But before we dive into it, I don't have any housekeeping.
Nope, no housekeeping today.
Now the air's cleared on that.
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb. We're sleeping in. Thank you. Right. Let's jump into it.
Yes.
So, again, these episodes, we really did a lot of light research because it's just like how we feel this would happen in an awful world.
Yes, which is also why they're a little more unhinged, I feel.
Yes, definitely.
Which I'm kind of loving.
Yeah, no, it's fun, for sure. But I did do a little bit of research on this because I wanted to know how it all started out, as I do with many things. I'm like, this is the great mystery of life. And then I say it like every time, and then it's something different because that's how this podcast works. So, 10,000 BC, we start growing grains and like cultivating them and then grinding them into flour and mixing water with the flour to make dough.
To make sourdough.
As early as 10,000 BC, bitch.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I know. That's a long time. And then, of course, the Egyptians, God, they are
just the best people who
honestly,
ever did live, I think.
They're just so intelligent. So by 2600 BC, they discovered fermentation, which led to leavened bread, which is nice because, you know, unleavened bread is, you know, like, okay, 10,000 BC, you could make a little pizza crust. You could make yourself a little flatbread.
Which we love, yeah.
We
love a flatbread.
Love all of that. But you know what?
Like a naan or
I do love naan.
Maybe a pita.
Yeah, or a pita.
Put the pocket in the pita.
But what I really want is like a big,
sorry,
a big fluffy loaf of bread.
Yes, that's where we get the sourdough is the fermentation.
Yes, the fermentation process. So the Egyptians came up with that. And then ovens. Then we figured out ovens. 6,500 years old. The oldest oven that we know of was found in Croatia.
Oh. So wait, so if we had bread before we had ovens, were we just like a pot over a fire? Like, what were we doing?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay.
I feel like, I mean, I'm wondering if it's like, okay, you know how they had to fire pottery, like in a kiln? Do you think it's a similar thing that they like, it's an oven that you walk into kind of situation? Or I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Because then, well, when I think of a kiln, I think of like the ones you had in like art class or whatever, which is like a small little one, which I'm like is
kind of had small ones in art class.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they were like the size of probably like a barrel.
Oh, interesting.
So, and then you just put your stuff in it, and then the like lid closes, which to me is just like an oven.
So
just a pottery oven.
When I was in high school, my homeroom was the pottery classroom. Very dusty. But anyway, the kiln was very large. Like you walked into it. Oh. And it had shelves, like racks for you to put your stuff on.
Oh, I've only seen like small ones.
Really? I've never seen a small one. So I'm like, the fuck is she talking about? What do you mean?
And I was like, a room?
Yeah, it's like a big old room. So I don't know. That's a good question about how they did that.
Because to me, I'm like, well, the first ovens would be just like a little, kind of like a brick oven, like pizza thing. Like a pizza.
Yes, exactly.
Which
that's
is kind of just like
too.
A house over a fire.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's how they did it or if they left it out in the sun. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But
fascinating.
At least 6,500 years old, this oven that was found in Croatia that we think is the oldest. So by the Middle Ages, it becomes, as with most things, this should not be shocking to me, but I'm still just like, how? Why does this happen on like every topic? But by the Middle Ages, it becomes a class symbol if you have like baked goods in your home because people don't just have onions. Somebody's hungry. People don't just have ovens in their homes, obviously. And so like if you had baked goods, you had access to somebody that had an oven. And
that makes you fancy,
that
girl.
makes you real fancy. You rich, girl.
This is nice.
So it was like only like dense, rich desserts for wealthy people. Poor people don't have ovens, and then they don't have baked goods.
That's rough.
Droughts are for poor people. That's from A Cinderella Story.
You're not that pretty, and you're not that bright.
I'm so glad we had that talk. So, probably around the 16th or the 17th century, lots of globalization happening, which makes sense and kind of ties into a lot of topics for our March Munchies series. And I say that because so many things like, you know, we don't grow oranges in Indiana.
We don't?
I know.
And how do we get them here?
I know. It's shocking. That's why globalization, like, okay, so we have oranges that are probably grown in Florida. It is one hell of a drug.
That's right.
Okay. Probably grown in Florida or elsewhere. I don't know. California.
Could be.
I'm not sure.
Could be.
Get our avocados from Mexico. Avocados from Mexico. The little jingle.
Free shavacadoo.
Yes. And then it gets shipped here to a grocery store. And that's how we have it. But like back in those days, like, well, whatever is around you is like what you have until globalization starts to happen. And then that's when baked goods and baking became much more like widespread. People started to send things all around the world into different areas of the world. And that's when butter started to be added to baked goods. So they went, at least a couple thousand years having baked goods sans butter.
Which, okay, is fine because sourdough bread, delicious, no butter.
That's true.
And here's the thing. Now, for Galentine's Day, from one of our beautiful patrons, we got delicious.
It was delicious.
Delicious. Do you hear me?
Am I making myself clear?
Chocolate sourdough bread.
It was really good.
It was so good. And so that did not need butter. I mean, I did toast it and put a little butter on top, or a little peanut butter on top, both delicious, but there's no butter in there. And it was still good, and it was sweet, and it was chocolatey. So you can still totally do that and it be delicious.
That is true. But don't you love a buttery, flaky crust?
Yes.
A crispy, buttery. Have you seen that video?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, does she think that I'm just like being weird? Or, I mean, I am, but.
But like, I do love a cookie.
Yeah.
A buttercream.
Also like pie.
A brownie.
Pie crust.
So I'm not really like a pie
I know
person.
you're not. And I am. And like, so most pie crusts have butter in them. The pie crust that I make, it's even better. It has Crisco in it, which I don't know what that is. It's shortening. Yeah. But I mean, vegetable fat. How do they make Crisco? I don't know.
I don't know, but it's vegetables, which means we could do it.
Okay. All right. If you're confident we could come up with Crisco, even though we don't know how it works in the real world, then fine.
I think we could.
But anyway, that's when butter starts to get added to things. And then once globalization happens, it becomes much more accessible to families because now it's not just rich people that can afford baked goods. It's everybody. And then families like start baking together, and that becomes a thing. But not until literally the 17th century, which is insane because it's like the 1600s.
Yeah, that's not that long ago.
Oh, I know. So by the late 17th century, the price of sugar goes down and flour becomes much more widely available to people. So desserts become a big thing in the, baked goods world. Because up until that point, it's really just bread. Yeah. Which, don't get me wrong, It's one of my favorite things. Yes.
It's wonderful.
We have been known on occasion to have a quote unquote bread night where Ty makes us various types of bread. What are you asking yourself right now? What kind of bread? Well, breadsticks, pretzels,
croissants.
Yeah. Croissants, focaccia.
Buns for like burgers.
It is heavenly. Absolutely heavenly.
We should do that again.
We should do that again. And then by the time the Industrial Revolution rolls around, technology gets better and we have the first semi-closed oven in 1747, which is also kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not
think
that
about.
long ago.
Ovens the way we have them now, not that old.
No, definitely not.
That's like, I don't know, 100 years, if that.
No, it's got to be longer than that.
You think?
I think.
With the door and all of that?
Yeah.
Because think about how wild it is that now every like place, if you buy a house, or you are like renting an apartment or something, like it has an oven in it. That's just standard.
Yeah.
Everybody has an oven.
Yes. But also like my great grandpa just died a couple years ago and he died at like 93.
Yeah.
So I don't think that like when he was born, they didn't have an oven with like a door.
Really? Like in their house?
Yeah.
I wonder when that became a normal standard thing.
Yeah. I'm going to say probably more than 100 years.
All right.
I'm saying they're still way more high tech now.
Yeah.
Like they probably, no flat tops, no, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But,
and like obviously like microwaves are not super old.
Right.
Those are like, I don't know, 80 years old ish.
Yeah.
And so that would be the primary way for people to cook something in their house. That's true.
Yeah. So I'm like, the oven.
Yeah.
They've gotten fancier. I can air fry in my oven.
I know.
But
it's very fancy. I'm all about it. So anyway. Back to baked goods. In an awful world, what do you think?
Oh, we're definitely going to have them.
You think so?
100%.
How do you think we figure out like grinding up grains to make flour?
I know I mentioned this a while ago, but like as a kid, you just
mixing
like
potions.
Yes, play potions.
Yeah. What's going to lead you to eat that?
I don't know.
You know?
I mean, here's the thing. If I'm playing potions and I'm grinding stuff up and then I add water to it because you always do when you play potions.
Right.
And it makes a dough. Probably put that in my mouth.
Just natural instinct. Like Play-Doh. Like, yes, let me try this.
I'm going to taste that.
Salty.
And then I'm going to be like, should we cook it?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. So obviously we've discussed butter because we talked about dairy products.
Yes.
Butter is a dairy product. I think some people really don't know that and it concerns me. But anyway, we don't have butter.
We don't, unless it's human butter.
Which is, again, disgusting.
I'm just saying, I think we would have human dairy that adults would have, but it would be like a rarity. It would be probably for the rich people.
Like caviar.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know if did we talk about this on the butter episode? Like, first of all, now I'm curious, can you even make butter with like human breast milk?
I don't know. We have friends who are mothers. Should we test it out?
Yeah, we should.
Come on, give us your breast milk.
Shake it up.
Let's make human butter.
Shake it up until your arms get tired. Human butter. That's disgusting. Because really,
put it on your sourdough.
Have you ever had a different type of butter other than like Irish butter? Like
no, which is still cows.
Right.
No, but I'm sure it exists. It's got to.
You think?
Yes.
I mean, it depends on the fat
just
content.
Separating the fat.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the fat content in it. And it makes me wonder, like, how much of like human breast milk is fat? I don't know.
I mean, I would assume a lot because you have to have that.
You don't think it's protein?
But you got to fatten up your babies. A fat baby is a healthy baby.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's got to be,
Interesting. Okay. So We don't have butter though.
No, for the most part, we don't have butter.
If we do, it's a commodity for the wealthy
it's a
only.
Delicacy. Yes.
It is gross.
You don't know. It could be delicious.
No, but I've tried remember, okay, so we did like a special dinner situation thing at the private chef, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I tried salmon roe, which is salmon eggs.
Yes. And I was like,
I know. And I tried it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, not for me.
Yeah.
That's just one of those things that I'm like, it's not a delicacy to me. I don't want it. I don't want caviar. I don't want.
No.
I don't want any of that.
I'm always like, it's fine, but I would prefer to not be eating it. You know what I'm saying?
It's not something that speaks to me.
I'm not like, ooh, this is so delicious. I'm kind of like, I mean, if I had to, but I wouldn't pay that much money for it.
Right. Yeah. And it's
really
just not something I'm craving. I'm not just like, you know what sounds good? Caviar. You think I can DoorDash that? No. Yeah. So, okay. So if we have butter, it's a delicacy. And the regular people do not have butter. They just have flour and water.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got other stuff.
Yeah, but what do we do about desserts?
Here's the thing. Here's how I know for a fact that we're going to have desserts.
Because Haylie is the resident baker among us. That should be noted.
I love to bake.
She is the baker. I do not enjoy baking, but I do enjoy eating baked goods.
So here's the thing. It's really just you need some sort of fat as a binder.
Right.
That could be anything. You could use a banana. You could use applesauce. You could use oil. So vegetable oil. Yeah. And here's the thing. Olive oil. Uh-huh. There are olive oil cakes.
Really?
Yes. And they're very fancy. People really enjoy them.
Yeah.
They're very moist. I could squeeze an olive.
Olive oil seems just more of a savory flavor to me. I don't know why. But we use vegetable oil for so many things.
Yeah, but you just pair it with a fruit.
Oh,
you would pair it, I think, normally with a citrus.
Okay.
To kind of balance that out.
Interesting.
But I could squeeze an olive. Also, I looked up Crisco, and
okay, great.
It's soy oil and cottonseed oil. So again,
doesn't sound good for you. That's for sure. It's just straight fat.
I'm just saying, though, soy is healthy. So if I'm just squeezing it to get the oil out, that can't be too bad for me.
I mean...
But we could get there.
It's just straight fat.
Yeah. But we could get there.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
Okay. You're very confident.
So we're going to have Crisco.
Okay.
I don't know who Chris is and his co. But we could have it. So that right there gives you pie doughs. We got them.
Thank God.
We could put oils in our cakes.
Mm-hmm.
Got them. So there are options. We can get there. And then you can make frostings out of just sugar and water.
That's true. Powdered sugar.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're still going to get there. But so if I mixed in a little, and a lot of times, an American buttercream is normally what you get on a grocery store cake because it's thicker and denser because it's cheaper. So I normally, if I make a frosting for a cake, it is a Swiss meringue buttercream, very light and fluffy. But that is a crap ton of egg whites.
Yeah, which as we know.
And which we're just not getting there.
Avian flu too now. It's just getting out of control.
Yes, it is not the time to be making buttercream with eggs. But then also a crap ton of butter. But when you get it from the grocery store, if you get an American buttercream, that is normally butter and powdered sugar and a little vanilla. But a lot of times they use Crisco instead of butter.
Interesting.
So it's really not a buttercream. It's Crisco cream. So we could 100% have that style of frosting for our baked goods.
Okay. And I feel fine about that. Yeah. I like a royal icing, which is definitely just water and powdered sugar.
Yes. Which, because you can normally, a lot of people use it with milk.
Yeah.
But
you don't have to.
You don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to use that.
So, and I'm just saying, so last week, Ty made with his sourdough discard, he made a cinnamon roll focaccia.
Yum.
And it was so good, it should be illegal. And then he put like an icing, like a royal icing on top. And it was milk, powdered sugar, and vanilla, like a pinch of salt. But so if you switch that out for water, it's still going to be just as delicious.
Yeah, it's the same consistency.
Yeah, but so we can make a cinnamon roll.
Okay. But hear me out. Because the reason that I'm not a big baker is because baking is a science. And we know that I'm not a STEM person. I would rather cook, or I can just be like, what would happen if I did this?
See, and I don't like that because I can't recreate that.
I know. Well, you can if you're like, you got
to be like writing it down.
Track of what you're doing.
Yes.
But yes, I don't disagree with that. But it's a science. So what is it in bread, for example, or cake that makes it fluff up? Is it the fat?
No, it is like baking soda or baking powder, which is like a bicarbonate.
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah.
Which is crazy because baking soda has so many uses. It's so versatile.
Yes.
I love baking soda.
Yes.
Like keep a giant thing of it in my house, mostly for like cleaning though.
Yeah. You can use it for cleaning.
Like control smells.
And you can, that's how you get pretzels.
That's right.
Because you boil water with the baking soda.
And then just set them in there. But yeah, like baking soda, baking powder. How do we create that? Is there an episode of how it's made that we can watch on a Sunday afternoon, at grandma's house?
So baking soda is sodium bicarbonate. And then baking soda is that plus cream of tartar, which
cream of tartar,
is what you use in meringues because it's a stabilizer. So that makes sense.
See, it's so chemical and confusing to me.
It is.
Like lessons in chemistry. Which
so it's soda ash, which I don't know what that is.
Okay. Like I feel like this is just like Pandora's box where I have like questions on questions.
Yeah. With carbon dioxide and water, which now here's my question. Carbon dioxide is what we breathe out. So are people like, here's some water, and then I go,
poor Ty just winced, just like big gasps, breathy, right in his ear.
So you're welcome, Ty, and you're welcome, listeners.
Isn't that how we get it?
Yeah.
I don't know how we get it. Don't ask me questions. I don't know how we have helium tanks. Why are there shortages of helium sometimes? I have a lot of questions about how we're trapping these gases. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know what soda ash is. I don't know who's making these sodas and then burning them to get the ash.
It's so many
questions. So I don't know. Maybe we have denser cakes. Maybe
which honestly, I'm not mad about.
No,
I love a dense cake.
Yes, maybe we just don't like have the rise. It's fine,
and that's fine.
It's fine. Maybe we've come up with a different way to do it.
Different kind of cake.
Who knows? Maybe because yeast.
The way you said that,
yeast. But yeast also is what makes things rise.
Right.
So maybe we're just putting a little sourdough starter in our cakes. I don't know.
But how do I have questions again?
I know. I have no idea.
What?
I don't know.
So like when you have like yeast powder, where does that come from?
I don't know. I guess I just kind of assume that people take a sourdough starter and then they like dehydrate it.
I was waiting to see where you went with that. I was like, what's she going to say here? Like they take a sourdough starter and what?
They dehydrate it and then now it's
put
powder.
It in a packet.
Yeah. And then they're like, there you go. Add a little water, rehydrate
Make sure you proof it.
Yes.
Yeah, all of that.
Feed it a little sugar. Tell it you love it.
Sometimes like dry yeast or active yeast, there's different kinds you don't have to proof. But see, it's all so complicated.
I know.
It's all so complicated. It's one of those things, again, baking is a thing to me like alcohol, where I'm just like, how on earth did we figure this out? Do you think it was a chemist?
Maybe like lessons in chemistry where she's a chemist, but then she's also like very into cooking.
Yes, because it's all like, she's like, it makes sense because if you do this, then it will do this.
Yes. And she's like, and then it's good for your body. And so you have to do these things.
God. And if you're listening to this and you haven't read Lessons in Chemistry, stop what you're doing.
Yeah. Our one patron who hasn't read it.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal book. Cannot recommend enough.
You do have to know that like...
Trigger warnings. Check the trigger warnings.
Yeah, there's a trigger warning like right at the beginning, but like push through.
Yeah, I promise.
And the dog doesn't die.
The dog does not die.
That's not a spoiler. You just need to know.
The bad thing that happens right at the beginning, and then it's all fine from there. I promise. Well, I mean, yes.
There's other bad things, but that's like the worst.
Yes, that is the worst. That's the hardest to get through. But anyway.
Anyway,
back to the pod. Yes, great book.
But here's the thing. I'm such a hyper fixator. And I love to bake.
I know. Do you think you would just get stuck on like trying to perfect it?
Yes.
Yeah. Because even this Haylie does that.
Yeah.
Like
because
with your chocolate chip cookie recipe,
I've been working on it.
You just
for years.
You know, finessing it. Yeah, for years.
And I'm still like just the other day, I was like, I think I'm going to add a quarter cup extra flour to that.
See, and that's just crazy to me because I wouldn't do that because I'd be like, I don't know what that's going to do. Like, I don't know what's going to happen if I do that.
The amount of times that, like, on a weekend, because I'm so cool, that I have made, like, 4 different batches of cookies dough and just changed one thing and then written on the bag the one thing that I changed. And then I portion them all out and put them in the fridge. And then the next day I come back and I bake, like, 2 of each. Yeah. And then I make Ty sit there and do a taste
test. Try all of them.
And tell me what's better and what's worse. And then I'm like, all right, well, now we have to eat all these cookies because I made 4 different batches of them. So whether you like it or not, you got to eat it. But we'll just keep going from there. But it's like you can only change one variable at a time.
That's very scientific of you.
Yes.
It truly is. I think the Libbys of the world do not have the patience for that.
Yeah.
They're like... I am not like if at first you don't succeed, try again type person with that sort of thing. I'd be like, well, I fucked this up and I don't know how to fix it. So that's the last time I'll ever bake. And then I storm out.
It is very much like if I have one success and then I fail, I'm like, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
So why can't I now? If I fail from the beginning though, then I'm like, well, it's impossible.
I'm just saying, like, I'm the person that like, okay, I love to watch like MasterChef.
Yeah.
It's a super fun show. And I always wonder to myself, like, okay, with the regular cooking, I can get on board with that and figure that out. With the baking, because there's always inevitably a baking episode.
Yes.
And I always think to myself, how on earth do these people figure out the proportions of the ingredients needed to make this thing? Because I don't know. I think that you have to have some sort of like good understanding, and I'm sure that you do, about like, if I do this, it does that. And if I do this, it does that. And it should look like this when I, put it in the oven or whatever. And I just don't think I have the patience for that. I'm always just like, how are they doing this?
Yeah, because there are some times where like, if I'm in a hurry, but I want to make something for someone, I won't pull out a recipe.
That's crazy to me.
I will just be like, all right, I need like 2-ish cups of some sort of flour and this many eggs.
I could never.
I just kind of like whip something together.
And I'm jealous of that because I think it's really cool that you can do that.
But it's all just like a ratio thing.
Delicious stuff. Yeah, I know, but I can't. It's like I could not memorize that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing. Okay. Did you ever watch the Try Guys on YouTube? Okay. Well, they do this series called Without a Recipe and
they just wing it.
And these men know literally nothing about baking, and they will have to bake like a cake or bread or croissants or whatever it is. Like they will pick very hard things and they will just be like, you have 2 hours and you have no recipe.
Panic.
Make it.
Panic.
And they just start like throwing stuff in and they're like, it's bread. So flour.
Yeah.
Yeast. And they just like start guessing at the ratios. And then they will always have someone, like they'll have like a panel of judges who like comes and eats it. And sometimes it is like inedible.
Yeah.
But sometimes they are like, wow, like this is pretty good.
Yeah.
But they always have one person who's a judge who like bakes that thing professionally. And they're like, what you need is a ratio of this, this, and this. And you never want to do this. But then they'll like show the guys like doing the one thing that they told them to never do. And so, but they're just, you kind of just figure it out because you're like, well, bread is made of these things.
Well, and I guess, for these people that are like masters of their trade, like they do know, like, you know, ratios and what's going to do certain things. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. There's no way.
Yeah. I just like things that are more like specific, which so I guess in some ways I could become a STEM girly.
Yeah.
In that way.
Definitely.
But it's just because I like to, if something turns out well, I want to be able to
replicate it. Yeah.
Which like, so
it makes it precise in that sense for you.
Yes. So in college, I remember having to call my mom and being like, how do you make this? And she'd be like, oh, well, some of this. And I would be like, okay, how much is some? Because I'm at the grocery store and I can't buy some. Like, you need to tell me how much to buy.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know, Haylie. I've just been doing this for 30 years. And I'm like, no.
You just know. You just have a vibe.
Yeah. I was like, but I have been doing this for 0 years. So you have to help me out.
I am like your mother in that sense.
And it would drive me insane.
That is so funny. I will say one time it drove me insane. A couple years ago, made tomato soup from scratch. Yeah. And it was so good. But God only knows what I did to it because I just kept adding things and whatever. And the second time I made it, like my roommate was like, it's good, but it's not as good as that first time.
See, and that's what's upsetting to me.
I know.
I want everything to be so precise. I want to be able to replicate it exactly.
I know.
And that's what I don't like. Like, okay, so we went to that fancy dinner and we had that pasta and it had beans in it. And like
bean pasta. And
it was so good. And the chef told us like what all went into it, but she didn't give us ratios or anything like that. And I was like, that is upsetting because I want to know how to make this exactly. But I came home and I was like, Ty, make me this bean pasta. And he was like, well, I didn't make it. I don't know how to make it. I don't know what you want. And I was like, these are the things that's in it.
These things.
Make it.
What's the question, Ty?
Yes. I was like, you can do it. You're a chef. I do the baking stuff. This is you. And so he was like, fine, I will make it. And he didn't really want to, but I bought all the stuff and was like, this is what we're doing for dinner. You're making bean pasta.
And it looked delicious.
And it was. And I swear to God, it tasted exactly the same. He nailed it on the first try. And so I said, everything that you did, I need you to write down as soon as we're done so that there's no questions.
Yes.
Yes. And that we can come back to this.
Which, look, this lady was already genius for pairing beans and pasta together.
Yes.
Because when we heard that, we were like, what?
We were like, beans and pasta, that's going to be so fucking gross.
And then we had it and we were like, oh my God.
Yes. And then I've been chanting bean pasta for 3 weeks. So
I want the dessert that we had. So if you could figure out how to make that for me, that'd be preferred.
I bet you I could.
Lemon posset.
I could definitely make the meringue.
Well, that's really what I liked the most about it. It was really good.
It was really good.
Oh, man.
Because I already know how to make a meringue. And
apparently I had no idea what meringue was.
Yeah. That's how you get marshmallows. That's how you get the buttercream that I make.
I had no idea. I literally thought
that's how you get chocolate mousse.
Meringue was like, when I think of like lemon meringue pie, like I think I thought it was like filling. I don't. You just bake it. It can be, but I didn't know that you could bake it like that and it would turn out like it turned out.
Wispy.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Crazy cupcakes.
With a backwards W. So unfortunately though, there will be no meringues in an awful world.
No,
because we won't have eggs.
I know. But again, as we say in all these episodes, we won't know what we're missing.
That's true.
So, but true. I feel good about having like pizzas and flatbreads.
Yes.
And things like that.
Now, here's the thing. No cheese on our pizzas.
You know what? It's okay. Because for me, you know me. If there's one thing about me, it's that I am unequivocally a sauce person.
That's true.
I love sauce. And so some places I don't like their pizza because it's not enough sauce and too much cheese.
See, I am not a sauce person, as we know, but so when we get pizza, we order light cheese, light sauce.
Oh my God. I'm disappointed.
I don't like when the sauce is just like oozing out and getting everywhere.
That's what I want.
I'm always like wiping it on the side of my plate. I'm like, that's too much. I know.
I'm so offended. This is why I love Chicago style pizza the most, because the sauce is on top.
And I'm just kind of like, that's not a pizza.
It is.
It's pizza adjacent.
The people of Chicago are going to come and find you. They're going to hunt you down.
I know.
And they're going to string you up.
It's like pizza casserole, in my opinion. It is pizza adjacent.
Count me in. I don't care. I want it. I want it.
It's too much sauce. It's too much cheese.
It's my favorite kind of pizza. But I will say I also love like a place that I think has really nailed it for me is Greek's.
Yeah, Greek's has good pizza.
Just a good ratio of sauce and cheese and toppings. Anyway. I
think it's Detroit style pizza, which is like a focaccia pizza.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I make it all the time. And we don't put that much cheese on it because again, I'm a light cheese, light sauce kind of gal. So I guess if it's just like sauce and toppings, I'm still here to have a good time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, honestly, I'm that person sometimes that wants breadsticks with marinara sauce and not with cheese, which is an Indiana thing strictly. Did you know that?
That cheese on breadsticks is an Indiana thing? No.
Yes, it is.
No.
It is an Indiana only thing.
What? Here's my thing. If I'm having, especially like cheesy breadsticks, like cheese sticks or whatever, if I'm dipping them in marinara sauce, that's just fucking pizza.
Well, I know, but that's how all pizza products are. It's like when you go to a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah,
it is some combination of
stuff.
Tortillas and cheese and rice and beans and some sort of meat.
That's true. That's true.
Just in different. You want an enchilada? Great. That's just like a mini burrito.
Smothered
in sauce, right? Mm-hmm. You want a chimichanga? That's just a deep fried burrito.
That's true.
Smothered in sauce.
That's true. You make a compelling point.
Yeah, and it's like it's all delicious.
That's
so
true.
It doesn't really matter which way you go. It's a combination of the same things.
Yeah,
in the same style.
Now, I will say I am a nacho cheese girly. I
love nacho cheese.
I don't know. I kind of wonder if we could make nacho cheese because I'm like, is that cheese?
Is it really cheese?
Is it really cheese or is it just like some weird plastic?
Where does the word nacho come from? You know?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Something Spanish. Anyway, I am always a nacho cheese for my breadsticks kind of girly.
Yeah.
And one time in college, I always quote it when we get breadsticks. We were really drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And
as one usually is in college.
It's like, I don't know, 1 a.m. It's Halloween and we are ordering a pizza at my house. And our friend Meg's, one of our patrons, she was the most sober of all of us. So she had to order the pizza. Mm-hmm. And there was a pizza place and that you got like 2 drinks, a pizza and breadsticks for like $12 or whatever. And so we're ordering that and they're like, do you want cheese or marinara sauce with your breadsticks? And so she asks us and we said cheese and she goes, marinara sauce? And me and the other girls are like, no, cheese. And she was like, I'm sorry, cheese.
See, I love like nacho cheese too, for sure. That is a strictly Indiana thing. I learned this maybe in the last year or so because I have some family that's from North Dakota. And they're like, that's not normal, right? And I was like,
feels like maybe North Dakota is the people who are wrong. I'm just saying.
It's not, because I was talking to somebody at work too, who was like, I remember being at a Pizza Hut in whatever state and my kid being mad because they didn't have nacho cheese for the breadsticks. It is Indiana only. It's so weird.
I refuse to believe that.
It's weird.
I don't want to live in a world where Indiana is the only one doing something correct.
I mean, I know. No, this is something that, we don't often get it right here.
We rarely get it right.
Let's be upfront. But this is something that we've absolutely gotten right.
Yes. Nacho cheese belongs on breadsticks.
Wow. This really veered.
Yeah, it did. Because this is not about nacho cheese at all. It's actually about the bread.
Maybe we should have done a whole episode on nacho cheese. I don't know.
Well, that would have been in the dairy episode.
Like they don't even have it on. Anyway, it's fine.
Unfortunately, in an awful world, we would be incorrect because we wouldn't have nacho cheese unless it's not really dairy, which if it's not, I bet you we'd sniff it out. We'd figure it out.
We'd figure it out.
Yeah. just saying there is something called nutritional yeast, which has a cheesy flavor.
Yep,
I bet
I'm familiar
we could turn
with it.
that into a sauce for our breadsticks.
Okay, but how are we getting said nutritional yeast? You see what I mean?
Again, we're dehydrating something. I don't know.
It's like
anything that's a powder. I'm just like, you dehydrate
it's
it.
back to the baking soda and the baking powder issue.
Which brings us back to baked goods, though,
Right.
because dehydrating is just leaving something low and slow.
I mean, okay, you make me some homemade baking soda. You let me know how that goes.
Okay, so I will find a soda. I'm going to burn it, make the soda ash. I'm going to breathe my carbon dioxide into my soda ash and add my water. Boom.
And
Baking soda.
Do you think we'd call it breathing soda instead?
Probably.
Interesting. Well, I don't think I have anything else to say about baking. What about you?
I have to bring up one thing,
right.
just because in the last episode we did say that we would bring up Nutter Butters.
Oh, we did say that.
So
it was so long ago. In real time, it wasn't that long ago.
It was like 20 minutes ago. But so we would absolutely have Nutter Butters.
And that's all you want to say about it?
Pretty much.
Those are cookies.
They're cookies
with peanut butter
with
between
peanut butter
them.
in the middle. And I'm just saying that
we could do cookies because you don't even necessarily need some sort of leavening agent in a cookie.
No, you definitely don't. Normally, though, the issue with cookies is butter. Cookies are like mainly butter.
I forgot about that.
Again, I think we could go back to the Crisco thing.
Yeah.
Because
use that as an alternative.
Yeah. So at Christmas, one of our friends has a kid who's gluten-free. And I made these gluten-free cookies.
Yeah.
And the recipe used gluten-free flour, which I still don't understand how we get that. But that's, not here nor there. But you use Crisco instead of butter in these cookies as well. So they were also like vegan.
Yeah.
And it totally worked. Was it my favorite cookie?
No.
But was it a cookie? Yes.
It was an edible cookie.
It was an edible cookie.
Yeah.
And I think if I had tinkered around with it, but I was just like, this is from a published book, so it's got to be like somewhat decent, And all the kids ate them and were totally happy. And so, but so I think if we did that and peanut butter.
I mean, you put peanut butter on anything, it's going to be fine.
Covers up a world of hurt.
It is
what I'm saying?
going to be fine. Yeah.
Sugar, peanut butter,
yeah.
Crisco, flour.
I wish sometimes we could just slap some peanut butter on this nation. See if that just really heals things.
Honestly, I think it could.
I think it could too. I have a lot of hope for what peanut butter could turn around.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. So we'd have Nutter Butters.
Yeah. We would 100% have Nutter
fine.
Butters. Could we make the Oreo?
No.
I don't know. Those are vegan.
Are they?
The cream is made of soy.
Interesting. So many things that I didn't know. And like also just like, it's a little scary sometimes that you just like eat things like that. And you're just like, this was just literally put together in a factory with a bunch of like preservatives and other weird shit in it. And then I went to a building and I went inside and I exchanged currency for this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take it home and I'm going to put it in my mouth.
I know. I was just thinking the other day because we went to the farmer's market and I see all the people there and they've got their like coolers and like of this stuff. And some guy was talking about he makes like simple syrups for drinks and stuff. And he was like, I make this one at home and blah, blah, blah. And then I was just kind of like, wow, I'm just here at the farmer's market buying stuff that people are making in their homes. Nobody is regulating this whatsoever. And that is so bold of me.
It cuts both ways, doesn't it?
Yes, because I'm like, I want to support local people.
Right.
But then also I see those TikToks of people who like put their toilet seat in their dishwasher. And I'm like,
what?
Yes. Haven't you seen that one?
No.
Yes, there is a video of somebody saying that you can clean your toilet seat by taking it off the hinges and putting it in your dishwasher.
No, here's an idea. Why don't you just clean it like a normal person, you psychopath?
Yes. So then I'm just kind of like, there's that person who's like, you can't eat at everybody's house. And I'm like, it's so true.
It's like, oh, okay. It's like, have you seen those videos of like people that like will make some big batch of something in their sink?
No.
You haven't seen that?
No.
They'll dump 3 pounds of cooked pasta into their sink and then add cheese and milk and all this stuff, mix it up in their sink like they don't have a bowl big enough to do that.
I don't like that. I don't see. And that's the thing though. And I'm like, you could just be scooping that up, making macaroni salad and then selling from your sink and selling it at the farmer's market. Who is regulating that? Because here's the thing is I have looked into it because we have a barbecue sauce recipe and I'm trying to sell that because it's delicious and I just think the world should know. And so I was like, we should go to the farmer's market. But then I'm looking into how you go to the farmer's market and you just go in front of, I think, a panel of people and they try your stuff. And then they're like, my product. Yeah, we love it. Let's sell it at the farmer's market. And I'm like, but are you coming to make sure that I'm meeting any safety standards? No. Nope. And that's unsettling.
It is.
But did I buy stuff from the farmer's market? Absolutely.
Yes. It cuts both ways. It really does. Where it's I want to know, but I also don't want to know. Yes. Sometimes.
I just am trying to have faith in people. I have no faith in people. People are bad. But I'm trying to think that they're not going to poison me.
Oh yeah. I think that's a good idea because they want to sell their product. So they're definitely not going to poison you for that reason. True. Not on purpose, at least.
Yeah, not on purpose.
So
in my mind, I'm like, all of this was done in a commercial kitchen. Because I'm like, I bake at my house and I have pets.
Yeah.
And, our cat,
rogue hair is bound to get in somewhere.
Yes. But our cat, she does not get up on the counters. She knows better than that. I wipe everything down before we start. I wash my hands 600 times. I have to keep lotion in the kitchen because my hands are always cracked.
Yep.
All of these things. And I'm like, I know that other people are not like this. But even with all of that, I find a cat hair in my cookies every once in a while.
Yep.
And I'm like, the people who I give my baked goods to, they don't mind, but I'm also not selling them.
Yeah.
But if I were to go to the farmer's market and someone were like, oh, there's a cat hair in my cookies, then I'm like, well, that's just not going to fly.
It's bound to happen sometime,
but sometimes one is just going to be in the air, and get in there.
It does happen sometimes too, even with commercial foods.
It's true.
Where it's just every now and then.
Yes. And then you're just you just can't win them all.
Do it all. Yeah. You just can't.
So, but it is kind of concerning.
It is, definitely.
But that had nothing to do, I guess, with anything.
I mean, it's about cooking things and baking things and whatever.
But, we will have to trust each other.
Yeah.
I think in an awful world, we're going to just be better about that.
I hope so.
So
it's all we can hope for.
I hope so.
Well, this concludes the March Munchies.
March Munchies, which was madness.
It was madness. Our March Munchies series. This was super fun. I'm glad that we got to talk about food for 4 different weeks.
Yes.
That was different. That was fun.
Yeah. There's just so much that goes into food. We just couldn't put it in an hour.
No. We couldn't talk about it all at once.
There's still so much more food. If you're a patron,
you've got questions,
you can let us know.
And you're like, let me know about Twizzlers. I don't know. I'd have to noodle it a little bit before I could answer that question.
Are you a Twizzlers family or a Red Vines family?
Twizzlers for sure.
100%.
Yeah. I love Twizzlers. So like Haylie said, if you're a patron, hop on over to our patreon.com/anawfulworldpodcast. You can submit any topics that you have, ideas for. Let us know what you want to hear about.
I think there's a board.
Yes.
Called TYFT, which is thoughts for your thoughts.
So let us know what your thoughts are, what you want to hear about. Join our Patreon, become a patron. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Check out our Insta.
Yeah, check out our Facebook. Give us a like. Subscribe to us.
Tell your friends. We want more listeners.
Yeah.
We're pretty cool.
Your friends that it's just sitting in a room with your friends and talking with your friends about weird shit.
Yeah. They may have questions about human milk and human butter. And
they may have their own thoughts that they'd like to share. I don't know. So, tune in. Check us out. But until then, we hope that your day is simply awful.